Hello, everyone. Welcome to the JFA podcast where we talk about everything that's going on in my life. I'm your host, Aiden. Today, we're going to talk about my high school years and how my experience with high school was. High school was the hardest 4 years of my life for me. I really lost myself during those years. I was trying to find myself all throughout high school, and still am trying to find myself today, as a matter of fact. However, several good things happened throughout high school as well, and I don't think I would be the person I am today without those 4 years of my life. Now, without further ado, let's dive into the key points of my life in all 4 years of high school. When it comes to the school aspect, almost every year that I went to school, I was on an IEP until grade 6, and I was on a 504 from grade 6 to my junior year in high school, then back to an IEP during my senior year. However, even though I had accommodations while I was in school, I was able to be in regular classes regardless if the other people in my classes had disabilities or not. I was able to make friends with lots of those people regardless if they had a disability or not, because most of the classmates that I had were very accepting of me and treated me like I was just another person, which feels great. When it came down to my academics, I tried my hardest on almost all the assignments that I was given from my teachers and ended up getting really good grades for the most part. And of course, I got some bad grades as well. The most important thing is, though, I don't think I got a single F on any of my report cards and didn't go to summer school once, so I feel really proud of myself for that. I also ended up making the honor roll a lot, the merit roll at least once, and high honor once with straight A's. Also graduated high school with honors. Elementary and middle school weren't too bad for me, but high school was anything but easy. Throughout my high school years, I started getting really high anxiety about everything. My grades, my social life, etc. But mostly my grades and my social life. Starting from third quarter of my freshman year, I was striving to get straight A's and did everything in my power to get them. Even staying home from a Kalahari trip with my dad and my brother so I could focus on my grades and make those straight A's happen. It didn't work, but I tried my best. I felt crushed at the end of the day of third quarter for my freshman year because I didn't finish a world history test in time, and around that time, the person who I had a crush on then said she needed space, probably because I was bombarding her for a lot of problems that I had, which was a mistake on my part. And while I thought a week of space was enough, I sent a text to my crush saying that I already missed her, and she was like, "I don't think we should talk anymore. You should focus on your grades. We're just friends. I need space. A lot of people are really worried about you, etc." I thought that 1 week would be enough space, but apparently not. This is the hard part about having autism, is not being able to recognize social cues with others. Of course, I was a little crushed when she said, "I only see you as a friend," but I was extremely crushed when she said that we couldn't talk anymore because she was one of the main reasons why school and life was enjoyable for me at the time. And to be told that we couldn't talk anymore was basically like putting a damper on my life and made me a bit sad throughout the next couple of months. I understood why. It was just a tough pill to swallow for sure. We had no classes together during that year, which made it even more difficult for me to communicate with her because time was so limited. While I did sit with her at lunch, she and the other people at my table would talk to each other so much, and me, being the more quiet, little shy person I am, had a hard time getting a word in edgewise with her because her and the other people were talking to each other non-stop. I just felt really alone. I didn't understand how to process all this. It was a really hard lesson for me to learn. During the summer after my freshman year, I started to self-sabotage myself, which is where your anxious thoughts take over. So anytime something good was happening, I would let my anxious thoughts take over and it would ruin me. Self-sabotage is a completely common thing for people with autism. And it affected my other 3 years of high school when it came to grades, but especially when it came to social relationships. I completely isolated myself from my other classmates because I felt if I stay isolated from them, it would give me a chance to get myself together and would be able to approach them and hang out with them again with no trouble. But looking back at it now, I realize it only made me more miserable. As people would stop inviting me to hangouts, parties, group activities, etc., etc. I felt that I missed out on a lot of activities. I went into that year and basically the next years of high school thinking that if I were able to focus on not only getting good grades, but developing and possibly improving my relationships with other people, then I might get back into people's good graces. I wouldn't have to worry about what people thought of me as a person anymore. During my sophomore year in high school, I started off strong by just being myself in front of other people, with several insecurities about myself aside, as well as having this mentality that if I didn't react to any situations, didn't get emotional about anything, or just went with the flow, loosely stated, then people wouldn't think that I'm a crazy, depressed, sad, mopey person who needs help. But I didn't feel that. And that's how I thought people were viewing me. Once again, self-sabotage. Looking back at it now, this is not the way to go through life as a person, at least for me. I'm definitely a person who feels my feelings, likes to have my needs met, and definitely not a person who just follows others around or takes anyone else's crap. I'm a person who likes to make my mark in people's world, who needs to have a balance of people and alone time, who likes to have fun with people, who likes to express my feelings and have heart-to-hearts with everybody, etc., etc. And if I truly like being in your presence, I'll tell you, and I'll let you know. Because people don't like sharing those feelings enough. So yes, I started off strong by doing stuff with other people, being involved with people who do similar activities, etc. Then, one time I went to a high school football game on Friday, I believe it was the last one, and someone ends up lying down on the ground injured. Here's the thing. I didn't notice that somebody was on the ground until I got these, dude, he's on the ground looks. Because I thought they were all cheering for that person. Which I ended up doing. But it turned out to be the worst possible time because obviously he was on the ground injured. You would think that with my brother being a star football player I would know this, but I was more focused on cheering at the student section and having a good time. So that I didn't know they were lying on the ground injured. On a side note, my brother ended up getting injured his last year of football, which was a blessing in disguise. Because now he's with the love of his life for 5 years. Not all injuries end up bad after all. Anyway, I ended up so embarrassed that I felt I had to isolate myself for a little while so I'm not the hot topic that they're talking about in terms of drama and negativity. Once again, self-sabotage. Because no in high school, it's a place chock full of all that stuff. So I kept to myself for a little while, and unfortunately back to an isolation funk because of the amount of homework I had to do from all my classes. Partly because I put work above my social needs, which is a bad idea because if I were to travel back in time and do high school again, I would put both grades and social needs hand in hand with each other because that is the key to having a good and successful life. I feel like if I'm not serious with my work, or if I'm not socializing and having other people support in my back pocket, that I feel worthless and abandoned because A, I feel like I'm not accomplishing much, and B, I would end up being desperate and attention-seeking from anybody who I would talk to, which is not very good. So yeah, my sophomore year I was bombarded with so much work that I was basically stressing out all the time because of it. Overall, it was an okay year. Could be better though. During the summer of my sophomore year, I didn't really talk to my classmates because a part of me felt worthless, that I was miserable for a semester. I didn't think people would want to talk to me because I was so miserable. Once again, self-sabotage. So I just kept to myself throughout the majority of the summer. Again, didn't really help that much because I didn't hang out with a whole lot of people, and I needed to be around people in order to feel happy. Then junior year came along, and to me it was promising because I was going to vocational school doing something that I loved back then, which was cooking, which I still love today, but not something I want to go into a career about. And I wanted to become the best chef that I could be. Despite my junior year having the potential to be a good year, it not only turned out to be my worst high school year, my worst year ever, and here's why. First of all, I ended up choosing a lab that ended up being too stressful for me, being culinary. While I do love to cook, actually being in that class was the first instance that I didn't even want to be around food because of both my OCD and self-sabotage tendencies, as well as the kitchen being so disorganized that I ended up going crazy at the smallest thing that was out of place in that kitchen. Like not picking up plastic wrap because there were germs on it. Which then meant I had to wash my hands. And believe me, I washed my hands a lot in that kitchen. Second of all, I ended up getting really close with somebody who I thought was really caring and nice and made me feel included. Still, it turned out that they ended up being full of drama, and I don't think they had their priorities in check at all. I made the biggest mistake I ever made by continuing to hang out with that person when I could have been hanging out with other people who were more stable, more trustworthy, cared about what went on around them, and most importantly, made me a better person. Being around the person who I consider my best friend at the time got so bad that one day I ended up hitting them and got an out of school suspension for 7 days. Really the rest of the year. Yeah, worst year of my life by far. I'm not condoning violence. It was wrong. It was wrong for me. It was wrong what I did. But I felt so frustrated with the school, with asking for help and not getting it. I feel like so lost that my emotions took over. After I got suspended, my mom got me the help I need and found somebody to talk to so I could process my emotions. While I was talking to him, I realized that I wasn't being treated fairly at that school. There were things that happened to me at that school that I realized were not normal until I talked to my counselor. Not making excuses, but boy, did I learn my lesson. However, I do feel like it would have been better if I just chilled out and chose a different career path. After I got suspended and summer started, it really felt like I was in prison because I had nobody that I felt I could talk to because of the lousy year I had there, and probably thought everyone hated me after I did that, which some of it was deserved, to be honest. I was so desperate to be around people again, you had no idea. Then my senior year started, and it was an okay year. Could have been much better, and here's why. I transferred back to my old school, excited to be back with my classmates, but I was so scared to talk to everybody because I was worried that I would act out in a way similar to my junior year. Especially when it came to this girl that I wanted to introduce myself to. It partly because I'm a little shy. OCD and self-sabotaging had a lot to do with it too. I wish I would have talked to her myself because I'm pretty awesome and she just didn't even know it. That mission ended up lasting for pretty much the whole year. Of course, it worked out because she moved and all that stuff. And COVID-19 came along in March, and I was out of school for the rest of the year, which was a bummer because my brother and I missed the end of our senior years. I wish I wasn't so afraid to introduce myself to her. That would have made the year better, along with being social. The good news is, though, Last quarter I ever had in high school, actually ended up getting all A's, and I didn't even care that I got all A's this year as long as I got good grades. Turns out something I manifested, get it 3 years ago, I ended up getting out my final high school career. And I realized I could go to college and learn at my own pace, which was awesome. Despite COVID 19 being COVID 19, the good thing about it is I got to spend more time with my family and I got to play games. And that was pretty much the only good thing of COVID. But sure didn't help my social game at all, not being around my peers. All in all, it was an okay year. Wish it could have been better though. High school was an interesting ride for me to say the least. Like the Led Zeppelin song, there were good times and bad times. You know, I had my share. I hope that if anyone or anybody's kids go to high school, they don't have as tough of a year as me and are able to speak up for themselves and for what they need. Because speaking up, staying up for yourself, and being in control of your life and not doing any rituals that they think might help them but actually won't, I guarantee that students would have an easier time than I did in high school. Anyway, those are all the key points what my high school years were all about. I hope you guys enjoy the episode and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.